All right, so here we go. We're going to talk about solving equations. It's something you guys know how to do, but you really, really need to make sure you know how to do it for this year because we're going to do so much math that requires you to solve equations. First off, let's talk about this term up here, inverse operations. When you're solving an equation, in order to move something to the other side, you're going to use inverse operations, which means the opposite kind of what you're talking about. So if you had, let's look at this first example, this plus 1, to move it to the other side, we do the inverse of adding, which is the opposite of adding, which is taking away. So we subtract 1. Okay, now, we've worked with algebra blocks. You guys know how that works. We have right here a line going down the middle. This is our balancing side. So we have 3 yellows, because the 3x is 3 yellows, and we have 1 little cube, and then we have 7 cubes over here. Now I want to balance it out. I first want to get the x's by themselves, so I need to move this green cube over to the other side. So I'm going to take and I'm going to do my inverse operation. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. Now subtracting 1, I'm just left, so that one's gone, I'm just left with the 3x's equals, and then 7 minus 1 is 6, because we take away 1 on this side. Remember, we have to keep it balanced, so we take away 1 here, we take away 1 here, and now we have 3x equals 6. Now 3x is 3 groups of x, or 3 times x, and the inverse of multiplying is dividing, so to get rid of 3 we divide by 3 on both sides. 3's cancel out, we get x equals 2. As usual, you guys, I'm very picky about showing your work. You need to show your work at all times. So the amount of work I've shown is the amount of work I expect to see from you. Let's go over here to this one. Now I'm going to move the 3 over. I add 3 to both sides. Cancel out. We have 2x equals 12. Divide by 2 on both sides. X equals 6. Okay, they get a little bit more complicated, which is appropriate for Algebra 2. Here we have n's on both sides of the equation. We have 5n and we have 7n. Now you can move either one to the other side, but I typically want to move the smaller one to the other side so I don't have negative n's. So I subtract 5n. Think about it as you're taking away 5n from each side, so we subtract. Those cancel out. 11 equals 2n minus 9. Okay, now it doesn't matter the n's on the other side. We still work it out the same way. I want to get this n by itself. So I look at what's with it. I get rid of the 9. We add 9 to both sides. 20 equals 2n. The 9's cancel out. And then we got to get rid of the 2. Divide by 2 on both sides. Hopefully you're really bored right now and you know how to do this. I'm going through a little bit faster than I would when you're in Algebra 1 because you should already be aware of how to do these. Go on the next one. We have 12n on one side, 4n on the other side. Let's move the 4n over, subtract 4n. Okay, so we have 8n now minus 3 equals 2. Get rid of that 3. Again, I'm trying to get n by itself, so I'm getting rid of the green guys first. 8n equals 5, and then divide by 8. Now you'll notice I have a fraction. That is just fine to have a fraction. In fact, you're going to have that happen a lot now in Algebra 2. So don't be scared if you get a fraction. And always remember, if you check your work, you should know then if you're right or not. Now here we have a pretty complicated one. We've got some bubbles. Now inside the bubbles, I really can't do anything. I can't combine those because 5 doesn't have an x. I can't combine those because 8 doesn't have an x. So instead I'm going to distribute. I'm going to take that 4 times the 3x, I get 12x. Take the 4 times the negative 5, I get minus 20, equals negative 2 times negative x is a positive 2x, and negative 2 times a positive 8 is a minus 16, and then we still have a minus 6x. Notice that 6x is not in the parentheses. The parentheses ends here. 6x is outside of it, so the 2 is not being distributed to the 6x. Be very careful about that. Now I'm going to rewrite the left side, leave it as it is for now. On the right side, I have 2x minus 6x. I can combine those like terms. I get negative 4x minus 16. And now I'm back again to where I have x's on both sides. I'm actually going to move the 4x over because I can add it, and then I end up with a positive x on that side. So the 4x's cancel out. We get 16x minus 20 equals negative 16. Add 20 to both sides.
Jessica Stone.
Okay, sorry about that. That's what I get for recording during school. They announced that I have to go somewhere. But anyway, let's continue on with this problem. We've got 16x equals 4. And then divide by 16 on both sides. The 16s cancel out, x equals, and then we can reduce 4 over 16 to 1/4. If you want to give me a decimal, you can give me a decimal. I don't know why you'd bother because it's more work for you, but go ahead and do that. And then one last problem here, I think. We have, again, the parentheses. So we multiply through by the 5, we get 5x minus 10 equals, multiply through by the 4, negative 8x minus 28, and then plus x. Once again, on the right-hand side of the equation, we can combine our like terms. We have negative 8x plus x. We get negative 7x minus 28. Add 7x to both sides. We get, what, 12x minus 10 equals negative 28. Add 10 to both sides. 12x equals negative 18. Divide by 12. Once again, we get a fraction, unless I've done my math wrong. Let's see, we get negative 3/2. Just reduce it, that's all I really care about. And there we go. Now, fractions happen. Okay, you're going to have to be ready for this. You're going to have to be able to deal with this. Now, I'm going to actually rewrite this because the computer doesn't do a good job of writing this. But we have 3/7 x, and I prefer that we write our fraction that way, where we have one number over another number, because it really helps us see what kind of number we have, what's in the numerator, what's in the denominator. First off, let's get rid of the green guys. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. So we have 3/7 x equals 6. Now, to get rid of 3/7 is 3/7 times x, but the inverse operation would be divide by 3/7. However, when you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So we multiply by 7 over 3, multiply by 7 over 3. 3's cancel, 7's cancel. So over here we have an x. On this side, let's put 6 over 1. So we have a 3 on bottom, 6 on top. That goes in twice. So we have 2 times 7 is 14. So our answer is 14. So the fraction ended up disappearing. However, don't count on that. That doesn't always happen.